Hello everyone and welcome to some MiSTer FPGA news. This week we will be talking about the TapTo project, CDI core updates, the public release for the Salamander core, and more. Also, check out my channel sponsor MiSTer Add-ons, a place where you can get all your MiSTer needs. Things like full MiSTer setups, accessories, I/O boards, and more. Now let's get to the news. Wizzo now has a new shop where you can buy TapTo accessories. If you don't know what TapTo is, it is a project that allows you to use NFC cards to launch games on your MiSTer FPGA. For example, you can encode an NFC card with the Sonic the Hedgehog game. Then when you take the NFC card and tap it to an NFC reader that's attached to the MiSTer FPGA, it will look for the Sonic ROM on your MiSTer FPGA and launch that game automatically. You can do this for any game you have installed on your MiSTer FPGA. This gives you a quicker way of launching your favorite games. Note that the games are not stored on the NFC cards. They just have the necessary information on how to launch the games. If this is something that interests you, if you head over to shop.wizzo.dev, you have the option for a TapTo starter kit that gives you everything you need to start your TapTo journey. If you don't need the starter kit, you also have the option to order trading cards that you can encode games to, or order an NFC reader in complete or DIY forms. If you've been creating your own TapTo NFC cards and printing out your own labels, there is now a device that will help you save some time applying the labels. Bedroom Ninja is now offering a TapTo sticker applicator designed by Entirely Tom. To see how it works, you can check out the video posted on Twitter showing a sticker being applied. This applicator should be very useful if you plan on creating a large collection of NFC cards. Thanks to Ronnie Snice and Wizzo, RetroRemake is going to offer a new TapTo solution. This will be a fully assembled add-on that includes the NFC board and USB cable. It can be underneath a MiSTer FPGA stack or placed to the side if it doesn't align underneath your MiSTer setup. The cost is expected to be $28 and colors are yet to be determined. The in-development CDI core has more updates improving its compatibility. There were some transparency fixes and a Jeopardy hack was added in case an invalid transparency mode is used. A 16-color high-resolution mode of the CDI was added. There were also fixes to the visuals of the validation disk menu and noisy pixel of the photo CD sample disk. An additive color mixer was also added, and this fixes the intro cutscenes in Zelda's Adventure. If you're a MiSTer MultiSystem owner, there is now a new SNAC accessory for Super NES controllers. This accessory slots into the MiSTer MultiSystem cartridge port and supports two controllers and blends in perfectly with the Super NES style case. If you own a Super NES multitap, you can connect more than two controllers on supported games. You also do not need to be a MiSTer MultiSystem owner to use this. You can still use this accessory with any MiSTer FPGA setup that has a user/SNAC port. The side of the accessory has a port for connecting a cable to an I/O board's user port. Here's a quick explanation of what SNAC is. It allows you to use original game controllers and lets cores communicate with these controllers just like the original consoles would, and just as fast for the lowest latency possible. The Salamander arcade core now has a public release. Salamander, also known as Life Force in the United States, is a Konami arcade shooter that's a spin-off of Gradius. The core was developed by Raki and it can now be downloaded when you run the update script. Hotego's team keeps working on Konami-compatible hardware. This work has impacted several arcade cores. The cores affected are, for the X-Men core, the missing button 3 was fixed. Also, the missing OSD option for dip switches was fixed, and shadow problems in the games were fixed. For Sunset Riders, the title logo did not display correctly, and now that is fixed. On the Simpsons core, some missing images were fixed. And for Parodius Da, several horizontal appearance problems were fixed, and a graphical glitch when using the Bluebell explosion was fixed. Hotego also mentioned starting to extract schematics for an arcade soccer game called Tekken World Cup. This is not a soccer game starring Namco's Tekken fighting game characters. Maybe I'm pronouncing the Tekken part wrong. Anyway, this Tekken is actually the former name of Tecmo, the company that brought us the awesome Ninja Gaiden series. Eventually, this game would later be ported to the NES and renamed to Tecmo World Cup Soccer. This is a reminder for people who have a television that only have RF inputs. MiSTer Add-on sells an adapter that converts composite output to RF. That adapter costs $35 and it can help salvage a TV with RF that isn't being used. I feel that RF gets a bad rap, but if you live in an area with very little RF interference, it can look just as good as composite. A great video that demonstrates just how good RF can look is one by Cathode Ray Dude. I highly recommend you check it out. Personally, I prefer RF and composite connections over higher quality signals like RGB, component, and even S-Video, as I find these connections to be way too sharp for my tastes. I prefer the softer look of composite and the way it blends pixels to smooth out dithering and simulate transparencies. It's the look that I grew up with, and RF and composite give me that look, so that's how I prefer to play my retro games. Now, I'm not saying that RGB component and S-Video look bad. All I'm saying is that RF and composite are my preference. So an adapter like this is great for a person like me if I had a TV with only RF and I lived in a place with minimal interference. Unfortunately, where I live in New York City, using RF causes way too much interference. If you're waiting on the Twinbee core, developer Raki recently posted that the core will probably be released in November. Always remember that circumstances can change and the release could be pushed further. We have to remember that these core developers are using their free time to help us enjoy our hobby, so I always prefer them to take their time. RetroRemake, the company behind the MiSTer Pi, recently showed their first SNAC adapter. It's made for the Super NES and is a one-player adapter. Again, SNAC allows you to use original game controllers and lets cores communicate with these controllers just like the original consoles would, and just as fast for the lowest latency possible. So that's it for this episode. Please also try to support Sorge, the maintainer of the MiSTer project, and other MiSTer developers and contributors on support platforms such as Patreon and Ko-fi. Their hard work allows us to enjoy this amazing project. I also provided links to all my sources in the description. Make sure to also check out RetroRGB.com to see my MiSTer news videos in blog form and to get more retro-related content. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, and if you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button and this bell icon so you can get notified of future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.